I don't really use my phone anymore. That's not because I have some abnormal discipline or I paid for some fancy ad blocker. It's because I genuinely don't want to, and I feel freer than ever, and my productivity has 10x since. Mind you, as you saw, it was like 18 minutes a day. I still technically use it for a few messages and like two-factor authentication, but I literally don't use it at all when it comes to these brain rot stupid activities. I use it as a tool, not as an entertainment device. And I used to feel like this for literally decades, literally for the past, I don't even know how many years of my life. I couldn't think clearly. I had constant brain fog, anxiety, and I was so dysregulated, it was incredible. In this video, I'll show you why this is literally the most important thing you can spend your time doing right now, and also how I did it exactly so you can just copy what I did. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it really isn't that complicated. And it all came down to these three things. First of all, I had to make my phone annoying as hell to use for dopamine. I had to make sure that I wasn't getting triggered all the time to go onto my phone in the first place by my environment. And lastly, maybe most important of all, I had to come to terms with the fact that my phone wasn't going to fix all of my negative emotions. I had to rebuild a healthy relationship with my association to my phone, and every time I did get triggered, I had to stop this compulsive behavior of going onto Reels instantly. And just as a heads up, by the way, this video isn't for everyone. I'm not gonna hyper edit it, I'm not gonna add some goofy ass sound effects. This is going to go into some pretty deep shit. And it's only for people who actually want a change in their lives, which isn't going to be easy necessarily. Back in early 2024, a friend of mine told me that his phone had broke. And I was like, yeah, that kind of sucks, but to be honest, you're gonna get it back in 2-3 days. It shouldn't be that hard. I mean, the only apps you're gonna realistically use in that time, or the ones you're gonna miss rather, are two-factor authentication, maps, making the occasional phone call, using your bank, and maybe messaging people on WhatsApp and using your camera app. Those are like kind of nice to have. The thing is, he was having a very bad time. He was struggling a lot living life without his phone after he's built such a dependence on it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this to the test, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna stop using my phone for a week. As a matter of fact, it only got worse. My screen time went up from like 5 hours to 6 hours and something. I wrote 6 hours and 23 minutes on average here, because that's about a good estimate. I was wasting so much time on Instagram Reels, watching fucking whatever the Brainrot meme was back then. And it took me a long time to realize this, but this is what the plan of Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, even the people who build your phone is. This is literally business for them to keep you down. I knew in my logical brain that I didn't need all of these bullshit apps, yet every time I used my phone, they sucked me in. I was going on my phone to check my bank account. I was going on my phone to make the occasional phone call. But I was also going on my phone compulsively 20, 30, 40, 100 times throughout the day to quickly look at a fucking reel to make myself not feel so lonely or sad or whatever the case may be in that moment. I used to joke with my ex-flatmate about this, that we had these kind of like routes on our phone which we would take. You open Reddit first, then you go onto Instagram, then you go onto Facebook, and it was like this whole map of how you do your social media checkup a few times a day. And it's 100% compulsive. You don't even fucking think about this. Oh, I'm gonna check Reddit now because I wonder what. You don't do that. You just click on it and then you click onto the next one and you scroll, and an hour and a half has passed by and you haven't done anything in your day. As a matter of fact, you feel chronically tired, chronically demotivated, brain fogged, your social skills are being ruined, and it's just a waste of time. I don't have to convince you on this, I hope by now, but I really want to emphasize how bad this is for you and how just checking your phone for this and that can be detrimental if you don't take the following 3 steps. The smartest people on earth have been recruited. These 160, 180 IQ people sat down in a room. These people with high qualifications and certifications and literally the cream of the crop. And they were told this one thing: keep the people hooked for as long as possible. I don't care if their lives are being improved, I don't care if their lives are not being improved, keep them on the platform for as long as possible, because that way we can show them the more ads, and that way we can make the most money. That's exactly what happened. Every time you see an ad on Instagram about every 4 reels, every time you see a reel even, it's all calculated. They know how many ads they can show you maximum, where it doesn't destroy the amount of time you spend on the app. They know which reel to show you to make sure you don't close it, or at least you spend as much time on the platform as possible. And every app does this, by the way. It's not just Insta or TikTok or these that I mentioned. Every app is fighting for your attention because that is the product. You are the product. And even if you're saying at this point, I need Instagram to DM people, or it's the well-deserved rest at the end of the day, the fact you've watched me this far ramble on about this shit proves that I'm right. Just take a look at fast food. They're doing, in another way, the exact same mechanism there. They're putting in these ultra-processed stuff into your foods that literally is 100% artificial. It's never found in nature, and it's making you addicted. Imagine if you went over to grandma and she was putting like stones into the soup. You'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that isn't actually nourishing my body whatsoever. They're doing the same thing with fast food. As a matter of fact, they're putting in things that are literally inedible chemicals into the food just to make you more hooked. It's actually worse than a stone, because a stone isn't really, you just shit it out. Of course, it's not that healthy, but this thing, it's not healthy, it's inedible, it's indigestible, and it's making you crave itself even more. Like, that's insane. And they're doing the exact same thing with social media. In your brain, you have a bunch of neural pathways, right? A bunch of like electrical signals which your brain can send to message certain things to your body. You can think of them as of like tree branches. And what these scientists figure out to do is to actually light up most of these pathways as often as possible, as often as possible, literally. So what your brain used to look like was like, okay, we lit up this pathway, okay? We're, sending electrical signals down this path because we want to do this certain thing. Next, we're going to send it down this pathway. This is what it looks like on TikTok. Every pathway at the same time is fucking lit up because your brain is sending yourself these hyper-regulated signals which it's not used to. As a matter of fact, most scientists who've looked into dopamine realize that dopamine is shot up to about 400% of baseline when you're using TikTok or Reels or some kind of like, intermittent reward schedule, like, these random infinite scroll apps. Do you understand how deep this goes? And if you just look at it emotionally, literally in 40 seconds, you can see a cute kitten, a guy's head getting chopped off, and the funniest AI picture you've ever seen with a funny sound effect on top of it. You can go from laughter to being in awe to looking at the most abhorrent thing you've ever seen. It's insane. Never in the history of humanity have you been able to do that, and it's not healthy for your brain. And now I propose the question to you: why is there such a subtle sense of powerlessness, hopelessness, and purposelessness in the young generation, the people who are hooked on this? I don't even need an answer, we all know it by now. And the thing is, because you're watching whatever the algorithm feeds you, your thoughts are being controlled by it, whether or not you realize it, and thus your actions are also being controlled by it because it's controlled by your thoughts. So you're literally being programmed. So I'm not going to harp on this any further. I hope you understand how deep this goes. I hope you understand how big of a problem this is. And let's get into the 3 ways on how to actually combat this once and for all. So this is going to be step 0. And to some people, this is going to sound borderline retarded, but this is the most important step in how I radically reduced my screen time. So to stop doing it, you have to stop doing it. And I know that sounds simple, but for people like me who were constantly watching YouTube and constantly looking for the next shiny object, I really had to be slapped in the face by reality and be told that, listen, the way you reduce your screen time is by being on your fucking screen less. So there is no cheat code. You have to stop doing it. Of course, I'm going to give you actionable steps on how to stop doing it, but that's the step 0. You have to understand you have to stop doing it in order to be not brain rotted, okay? And the next part of stopping doing it is actually this very important concept I learned from neurology, which says neurons that fire together wire together, okay? What this means is if, for example, the very classic example is Pavlov's dog. When he hears the bell and he's granted food, those 2 neural pathways, as we drew them out previously, they get fired at the same time. So bell noise, that means we get food. Next up, if they do it again, that's going to get reinforced again. And if they do it, and they do it, and they do it, and then they switch out the food and they just ring the bell, the dog's going to start drooling because it's expecting food. What this means, in short, for you is to be less likely to get on your phone many times a day. You have to stop getting on your fucking phone because you're teaching your body right now that your phone is the solution to any problem you have. That's what you're teaching it by going onto your phone every time you have a bad experience or emotion or whatever the case may be. So this is how you work right now. You feel bored, you feel lonely, you feel horny, you feel sad, instantly you go on your phone. And this is not only bad because in the moment you're fucking up your dopamine, you're wasting time, etc., etc., etc. It's bad because you're teaching your brain that this is the solution in the future. And that's very important here. So not only is this, oh, it's a small act, it won't matter, it's only 5 minutes, I'm not going to waste much time, there's nothing else better to do. You're teaching your brain for failure in the future. This is incredibly important because if you had, let's summarize it, let's generalize it, as like, for example, 57% chance that, when you feel a negative emotion, you'll go on your phone. If you indulge, well, you've just wired your brain to be that little extra bit more likely to go on your phone the next time you feel this emotion, because neurons that fire together wire together. Now the chance that you'll go on your phone tomorrow is 58% because you just reinforced this neural pathway. And if you still don't believe me that we go on our phones way more than we should, and you're still saying, oh, but I need it, I'm going to check my messages only, like, please, open your phone right now and check your pickups. It should be in the digital well-being category, whether you're on Android or an iPhone. You have a number of pickups. That's how many times you picked your phone up and unlocked it throughout the day. If you're actually using it for messages, surely it would be enough to message people 10 times a day. That's pretty much every hour while you're awake, or every hour and like 30 minutes, right? You're not getting that many fucking messages every single day. And if so, okay, 20 pickups. Chances are your pickups are much closer to 100 or 50 if you're not that brain-rotted, right? Those are still very, very high, and most of those pickups are going into non-activities, are going into these routine checkups on social media, which are causing you to be fucking retarded, okay? Let's just call a spade a spade. And by doing this, you're teaching your brain that your phone is equal with quick release, with quick resolve. It's the quick solution to your problems. And if you have this magic device in your pocket, why would you look for real solutions? That's the biggest tragedy here, is that you're feeling like this is the solution because in the next 5, 10, 15 minutes or an hour, if you're binging, you feel like every problem is solved because you're getting the dopamine, you're feeling different types of emotions other than the negative one in which you were in the beginning, and your brain thinks it's solved. But the problem is when you end your session on your phone, when you're no longer looking at this magic device in your left pocket, the problem is you're back in your reality and you're only worse off because you're only more brain-rotted, you've only wasted more time, and you're only more likely to check your phone the next time this happens because you've reinforced this neural network. So you kind of fuck yourself over. So to stop doing it, you actually have to stop doing it, which is almost impossible, I know, with your current identity, especially when your environment is against you, when you're getting triggered all the time. So the actual actionable first step, which you can do right now to curing your brain rot once and for all, is turning the tides in your favor. When you get any urge to act on something, your subconscious mind always evaluates, is this action worth it for me? Are the pros, the benefits of it, outweighing the detriments or the cons of this action? And every single time, it measures that up. And every single time you get the urge to even act on something in the first place, it comes from a stimulus or a trigger. It urges you to do something, usually to avoid the negative feeling, and then you take the action. I displayed pretty much this in the last scene. It was, trigger to feeling to action, also known as indulging on your phone. But let's just stick with this for now. So the way I conceptualize all of this is we have water flowing into a bank, which is caused by a trigger. If the water flows in or not is a question of do we get triggered. If it does flow in, if we do get triggered, the strength of the urge, the level of the urge is determined by how much water is in the bank, how tall the level of the water is. And if we act on it is dependent on how high our action threshold, aka the dam, is. If, the urge is only like a, let's say, 3 out of 10, and our action threshold is a 5 out of 10, aka, the dam, then we don't act, because as you can see, the water is being kept out. However, if this dam was much lower, and the action threshold is significantly lower, like it is for most people, then let's just say it's like a 2. And in this case, even this small urge of a 3 out of 10 overflows and causes you to indulge, aka whip your phone out and start scrolling or whatever. And the thing is, this dam is usually like literally a 1 or 2 out of 10 for most people when it comes to using your phone and acting or not acting on these kind of triggers. Because most people have it in their pocket, they're logged into all of the social medias, they have those apps installed, their phone is easy and fun to use, and like even the smallest trigger in these cases is going to be acted upon because you're getting whatever amount of water. It doesn't even fucking matter at this rate because your action threshold, the dam, is so damn low. So how do we increase it? The most important things you can do are turning your phone on black and white. You've seen this before, yet be honest, is your phone on black and white right now? It's that significant, and usually the reason you turn it off is because you know it's significant. It's because it makes you want to use your phone less. But that's the fucking point. So turn your phone onto black and white and watch your screen time be halved. Literally, instantly, because that's just how it works, in my experience, and pretty much everyone's experience who I've coached so far. Pickups. All of the pickup options, raise to wake. If you pick your phone up, it automatically wakes up. If you tap it, it wakes up. Even Face ID to an extent. All of these, all they do is remove friction. Realistically, if you needed to use your phone, you could still use it. It would just take you 5 seconds extra to log on. But that's a good thing, because now these compulsive activities like checking your phone once you're sad, without even noticing it's happening, these become so much harder for you to do. However, if you need to get directions or maps, you're still going to do it, right? That extra 5 seconds doesn't really matter much. So turning all of these pickup options off, Blue light blockers. This also makes your phone just that tiny bit less addictive to use because now it has this weird orangey tint. Logging out of applications. This is a big one because no one really does this, but actually not having your phone remember every single login information that you have not only is a good thing security-wise, because if you get hacked, not everything you have gets leaked, but also it makes you log into the apps, which takes an extra 30 seconds. Now you could be saying, oh, you know, but I use the apps so many times a day, this would take up so much of my time. That's the fucking point. If you actually need Instagram to check DMs, you can do that once or twice a day. It's going to take 1 extra minute per day. Is your brain's health worth 1 minute extra per day? Answer me that. Putting your phone on silent. I mean, there's very, very few instances when you actually need sound on your phone. And if you're watching an important video or having a phone call, of course, turn it on. But for the most part, your phone should be on silent all the time. Optimizing your home screen. People will complain about, you being on social media too much when their home screen literally has every social media on it. If I have to go on Instagram, I will search for it. I will log into my account. And even when I do, my phone is on silent and on black and white mode. Do you think I use Instagram much? You could see that I don't. And finally, only if you're ready, this one is like, a bit contested, even in my mind, is uninstalling these apps. The problem with this is, even if you're like really, really unhooked from social media and shit, once you get the urge, you will just reinstall it. Now, of course, this is also extra friction, but a lot of times we'll forget to uninstall it again. So for the most part, if you just do these, you're fine. But if you've already built somewhat of an independence and you already don't have that big of an association with these social medias, you could just uninstall it. And every few times you check it a week, you reinstall it if you don't forget to uninstall it again. But the best way to counteract brain rot is to not get into brain rotting situations in the first place. It's to not whip your phone out. It's to stop the amount of water flowing in. How can we make sure that if water flows in, it's a low amount, and, well, preferably, no water flows in whatsoever? So how can we do that? Oh, and by the way, before I move on, I'm gonna post a video in about 2 weeks onto this channel about every single setting I have on my phone which help me achieve this brain rot. So I'm not gonna go too deep into this in this video, as you can see, but on that one, I'm literally gonna be showing you every single setting and how to set it for yourself, whether you're on Android or an iPhone. So subscribe to get notified when that drops. Look, life happens and we will experience negative emotions, but the amount of triggers you experience in a day can be cut in half so easily with just a bit of thought put into it. For example, at my local Aldi, and by the way, fire the guy who designed this store because it should not be this way, I don't have to go by the pastry aisle. But I recently realized that every single time I went shopping, I was going there just by default because, I was just walking around that route in the store. And I realized recently that I didn't actually have to go there. There wasn't actually anything that I was buying there. So why was I putting myself out to the trigger of smelling the tasty, scented pastries? There was no reason for me to do that. And when I stopped going, best believe I stopped buying them because I was no longer getting triggered. And I know this is, not a phone example, but even with this, you can think of so many things. Notifications as a whole. I just gave this a separate room on the whiteboard because it's such a big topic. It's insane that people still have notifications enabled. This shit is stupid. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If there's something that you need urgently, sure, okay. If your food's getting delivered and you don't want to leave the guy waiting, okay, enable it for your food delivery app. But even for your messages, like, honestly, can't it wait? Like, is there ever going to be an emergency? And if there is an emergency, every modern phone has a double dial feature. Even if your phone is muted, even if you don't have notifications, if you get dialed twice on an Android or a fucking Huawei or Apple or any phone, any modern phone at least, you will get the call if they dial twice back to back if it's an emergency. The best practice you can do to reduce the amount of triggers you face every single day is ask yourself the question, how will I get triggered? Literally visualize it for a second in a negative way. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to work, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do whatever the case may be, and I'm going to get distracted. What happened? Face it as if it had already happened and you already got distracted because, let's be real here, you've already got distracted. Every single work session you get distracted. Every single gym session you spend a bunch of time on shit you shouldn't be doing. So ask yourself, because you have a lot of experience of shit going negatively, as do I, as does everyone, how do I usually get distracted? How will I get distracted this session if I don't prevent it from happening? You can get to a lot of answers with this. Some common examples of reducing your triggers would be, you have junk food at home. Well, how about you don't have any junk food at home? It sounds stupid, but it's that simple. I once started wondering, why do I give into temptation so much more when I'm back at my parents' house? And it's because of my environment. Because I, for myself, don't buy any sugary foods, but when they're there in front of me, every time I go into the kitchen, occasionally I'm gonna give in. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So how about you just don't fucking buy junk food? How about you make it hard to get to? Because even if you don't reduce your action threshold, the dam is low, if there's not much water coming in, or it comes in rarely, I mean, you're not going to act on that many things, are you? Next one, phone in your workroom. Guys, I only have my phone here because I wanted to show you how little screen time I have. I lock it into my drawer. Most people have their phone on them or on their desk when they're working, and it's so stupid. Even if you don't have notifications on, if you just have your phone in your line of sight, you're going to use it more. You're going to give in to temptation. You're going to check your social media occasionally. Even, this is true if you have water on your desk. Whenever you don't have water on your desk, you drink less because it's not in your line of sight. Again, your subconscious is doing the calculation. Is this going to be worth it? How much energy do I have to expend to get on my phone, to drink water? And if it's very low, if it's on your desk, you're going to do it more. It's very logical. Charger next to your bed. Every time I woke up, I went onto my phone and I spent an hour there. This was years ago because I've actually done this for a long time now. I charge my phone outside in the kitchen because when I wake up, I'm like, oh, okay. Even if I want to go on my phone, I have to get the fuck out of bed, right? And you can imagine, I'm not wasting 1 hour every single day before the day even begins on scrolling in my bed because I have to automatically get out. Now, of course, in recent times, I haven't been on my phone, but before that, I did sometimes get up, go on my phone and still look at fucking reels or some stupid shit. But point being, it was much, much less frequent because now it wasn't easy for me. That's the whole point. Video games on your desktop. I mean, same thing. If you're constantly looking at League of Legends, if you're constantly looking at Fortnite and CSGO, even if you're not playing them, there's going to be a 1% chance that sometimes you indulge for the sake of nostalgia or whatever you tell yourself. However, if they're not on your desktop, there's going to be a 0% chance because you're not even thinking these thoughts. And finally, your phone at the gym or your phone anywhere. If you think about it, you don't actually have to take your phone everywhere. Let's say you go down to the store. Why are you on your phone in line? Why are you on your phone, I don't know, going on the bus if you have to take the bus to the store, or in your car, or whatever the case may be, right? You have to take 30 minutes off your phone. Don't tell me you're going to get a life-changing call in those 30 minutes, something that can't wait. Why do you even take your phone everywhere? Like, it's a genuine question. It's so normalized nowadays, people can't even imagine living without it. Once you realize that you don't even have to take your phone everywhere, you're just going to use it less. And one of the benefits actually of not using your phone as much is you have to charge it like twice a week. I haven't charged my phone in 4 days now. Motherfuckers be begging for phone chargers in public because they have to charge their phones like 3 times a day. Bro, I haven't charged my phone in 4 days, like come on. But even if you do all of these steps, and even if you pause the video and think further for yourself and your situation and do those steps, you're still going to be a human being at the end of the day. You're still going to experience some urges. You're still going to have an okay action threshold, but sometimes, even if you face just 10, 20, 30 urges, you're going to act on some of them. So how did I make sure that my urges acted upon was 0? How did I keep even those few urges that got through these lines of defense at bay? How did I keep them out? This is going to be the part of the video which makes this different to every other YouTube video you've seen so far on this topic, but this is what single-handedly made the change for me. It's a bit gay, but hear me out. The reason you can never be your phone addiction is because you don't know how to handle your own emotions. Emotional management. This is the key to how I finally cured my brain rot and how you can too. What happens in this dam example, and one thing that I didn't mention, is that every single time the water overflows, you automatically take the easiest route because, as I said, your subconscious mind comprehends that as the easiest one. However, this doesn't have to be this way. The only reason you go on your phone every single time nowadays is because of this concept. But once you stop with the previous activities, the previous kind of environment design, increasing the action threshold, and once you implement those, you will start to de-wire this neural pathway in your brain. And once it's weak, once it only leads you to go on your phone a few times a day, what you can start doing is you can reprogram this activity. You can become aware of your triggers, first of all, and be like, hold on, I'm feeling kind of sad right now. Hold on, I'm feeling kind of horny. Hold on, I'm feeling kind of bored. And you have to realize that you have a fucking choice to make. You don't have to go on your phone. Because here's the thing, the water can overflow into different areas as well. You can choose to do nothing with it. You can literally sit there, you can acknowledge the feeling, and you can continue doing what you were doing. Nothing's changed. You're still a part of the world. You're still doing whatever you were doing. You're still going on the bus. You might be bored. You can continue looking out the window. You can name the feeling. You can become aware of it. And here's the interesting part. This is part of being human. The reason you feel so dysregulated, the reason you feel shit all the day, all the time, is because your mind works in very funny ways. is because you're no longer living in accordance to your own mind. Your conscious mind is this little nugget of your whole entire mind. This is your conscious mind. The rest of it is your subconscious mind. What this means is every single time you have a thought, a feeling, any change in your frequency, if you don't think about it, if you don't listen to that signal, because that's what emotions are, they're signals. If you don't listen to the signal, the trigger, whatever the case may be, you shove it down deep into your subconscious and it stays there. And, well, let me tell you this, it's not normal to have 150 pickups a day. It's scientifically proven that this shit is real, and the reason you feel dysregulated, the reason you have mental health disorders is because you're not listening to your own physiology. It's because every time you get this thought, feeling, whatever the case may be, you shove it down, you go on your phone, you fix your state of mind only for the time being. You put a band-aid on the problem and you don't fix it with the real solution. The real solution is listening to your body. Even if you can't fix that you feel sad right now, listen to your body. Okay, I'm sad. Why am I sad? What is my body trying to tell me with this, right? When we feel fear, it's because our body is trying to signal us to not do something or do something, right? Whenever we heard a bush rustling back in the day, we jolted up and we were like, we started running because it might be a tiger or something. That kept us alive. When we feel hungry, it signals to our body that we need energy, we need to eat. They're all signals. If you're not listening to your fucking signals, is it any surprise that you're constantly feeling dysregulated and you're constantly running back to this solution which doesn't even solve anything in your life? You're only giving profit to these big tech giants. That's all you're doing with this. So once I realized that this is an illusion and I actually have a choice, I don't have to go on my phone by default, that's when everything changed for me, because I could make my environment my ally. That's a very important thing and that's why I included it in this video. But the biggest change is realizing that you have a fucking choice, that you don't have to do this. It doesn't have to be this way. Becoming comfortable with doing nothing, resisting the urge, noticing the urge, and sitting with it. Because if you're not overwhelming yourself all day, every single day, you're not going to have to do these high stimulation activities to feel anything. I'm just filming this video and I feel amazing. I feel awesome. I've been doing this for over an hour now, and guess what? I wouldn't want to change it. I don't use my phone, and even when I do, it's on fucking dumb mode because I don't need it anymore. If we were to visualize it on a dopamine graph, this is what most people's dopamine graphs looks like. It's just fucking spiking all day, watching TV, being on TikTok, being probably like 19 or fucking 100 of being on TikTok because they do it all day, every day. But the thing is, once your dopamine graph looks a bit more like this, it's a bit low all the time, you have these very subtle, maybe slight increases and decreases, you don't have to do these kind of activities to feel alive because this is enough for me, right? So all in all there is to brain rot and to curing it is making sure that using your phone whenever you do give into a temptation is not that stimulating. Second, don't use your phone that much, and you can do that by not getting triggered. If you set up your environment in a way where you're not forced to go on your phone, you don't feel the feelings which urge you to therefore open your phone or your computer or whatever your form of brain rot may be, you're gonna obviously do it less. And even if you do both of those perfectly, you're still going to have a few urges. For this, you're going to have to learn emotional management. You're going to have to subtract this invisible hand above you which is fucking controlling you, which is giving you this illusion that you can only go on your phone and you have to instantly fix it. If you just take a breath and you're like, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling lonely, whatever the case may be, this is part of the human experience. I don't have to instantly give into this. Once you realize that, life becomes so much easier. There's a concept called urge surfing, and I never really conceptualized this. This might sound really dumb to some of you, but the urge will disappear. Every time I used to feel like this, like lonely or bored or whatever the case may be, we're so trapped in the now. We couldn't think about the fact that just 10 minutes after this, if I just breathe and do nothing for 10 minutes, it's going to fix itself. This is not a real problem. As a matter of fact, it's only going to be better if I listen to this, if I don't do anything, if I let my subconscious mind communicate to me, right? If in those 10 minutes when I'm feeling this urge, if I give into it, I'm only making it worse because neurons that fire together wire together. So please, if you learned one thing, let it be this. You can implement all the gimmicky habits, you can make your phone harder to use, you can look for the setting, you can set up your environment in a way where it's inevitable for you to win, and those things work, don't get me wrong, but if you want to absolutely cure your own brain rot, it must be through emotional management. It must be through understanding that your psyche has a choice, that you are the own master of your own fucking free will, of your own world, of your own life. It isn't the elite, it isn't big tech, it isn't any of this, it's you. And you get to choose. And that's a very empowering feeling. I'm building a challenge right now in my school community where I put everyone through like literally actionable steps on what to do day by day if you want to cure your brain rot within 5 weeks. So you can click that in the description. It's free, and you also get to talk to me one-on-one right now because I'm just giving out private calls with myself because I'm just so fucking kind.